Hi, and welcome to this episode of the Dynamics GP Blogster. Today I'll be talking about Microsoft Dynamics GP and running system and company databases on Azure SQL. This marks the third and final installment of this series of blog articles that detail all the steps that I've taken to move the company and system database to a Microsoft Azure SQL environment. Now, this is a reminder that this is not a supported configuration by Microsoft and is not proven to work. There are numerous constraints to make it happen, but it decided to make it a proof of concept rather than simply saying it doesn't work. So let's get started. I have actually set out in advance to move the company database. This time it's my TW018 database. Please refer to my previous episode on how to actually use the data migration assistant to accomplish this feat. Now, I'm actually at this step where I'm ready to script and deploy the schema, but not without having to look at a set of issues that might occur with the company database while you attempt the migration. So as you can see, all the roles are actually ready to go. All the defaults, all the schemas will script properly. But when it comes to stored procedures, we have a list of stored procedures that have migration blockers. Remember that a migration blocker will allow an object to move to the Azure environment, but there might be issues that need to be fixed prior to this migration. I'm not going to spend time going through each and every single one of them, but suffice to say there are 621 collected objects with at least one blocking issue, and 276 of those collected objects with at least one other issue that need attention. So all I'm going to do here is generate script, and as you probably saw from the previous episode, this is going to take some time, and we will get back to it when it's complete. Now that the schema scripting has been completed, we will proceed and deploy the schema. Okay, now that the schema deployment is complete, we can begin migrating data. Now we'll begin the data migration process, and this will complete our company database migration. Okay, so we've completed the database migration, and all the tables have actually migrated successfully over to Azure. So let's see what that looks like. I'm going to actually log in here or select the TW018 database, which is our Fabricam database, and I'm going to actually open the query editor. By the way, this is a preview feature in Azure. I'm going to log in into my database, and once I log into the database, I can actually see my list of tables. So that's going to be an extensive list given the amount of tables that are currently in the Microsoft Dynamics GP company database. But anyways, I can see that all these tables are there. Now I'm going to run a quick, select star from SOP 10100. That's my subheader work table. And I can see now if I run this query that the data that I actually brought over from my on-premise database is currently present in this particular scenario. So that's good, that's promising. But one of the things that I like to try is, let's say I'm here at this particular level, pointing to the 10100 table in the TW018 database. If I want to run a query from the system database, let's say I want to query the list of users, I can do a dyne 18 RTM, which is the name of my database, SY 01400, and if I run this query, the first thing I'll see that this query fails to execute because it references a database or server name that is not supported in this version of SQL Server. So again, this completely shows you some of the impediments you will have. And one of the things that you can do with Azure databases that are in the same elastic pool is you can create a vertical elastic query. And a vertical elastic query allows me to basically map the resources or create references to resources that exist in other databases. Now, that is all good. You can basically create references to those resources, but this will tell you that all the stored procedures that you have in the Microsoft Dynamics GP company database that reference anything related to the system database will probably have to be rewritten, and those query references, those scopes to tables in other databases will have to be created firsthand before you can even begin working with the application. Now, another thing that I noticed from connecting to this particular database is the fact that not only do I not have access, or I have to create references to those objects. One of the things that I notice is, for example, most of us that are used to deploying or migrating databases from one environment to another are used to capturing the logins that are a part of the source environment that we're moving on, migrating those references to the destination environment. So here I have the capture login script, and in particular, I'm interested in my DynSA user, and I've actually extracted that and created an alter login statement that points to the system database on my Azure SQL environment. The other thing is, if I actually run this execute command, the first thing you'll notice here is that you get back a problem, an error that says that the option hashed is not supported on this version of SQL Server. So basically, Azure SQL does not support hashed passwords, and that's a problem, because the minute I actually exclude this from here, then this password is no longer readable by Microsoft Dynamics GP decryption algorithms. So it stands to reasoning that a lot of the impediments that we will have are more platform related, and I'm not so much concerned about the rewriting of stored procedures or anything of that matter, because that's at the end of the day, that's simple code. But there will need to be some architectural changes as far as Microsoft Dynamics GP concerns, in order to be able to deploy a full database environment that is supported by Azure SQL. So that's all good. I have some other examples here, but in particular, I want to bring up the Microsoft Dynamics GP application. So this is a simple login screen. If I attempt to actually log into the system with the existing password, obviously the first thing I will get is a message that tells me that the login failed and I must contact my system administrator. And that's all because the password structure is different, and I have a what I would consider a clear password set up for my DynSA user, but I can't alter the password to set up an encrypted password because the hash function is not supported in the alter login on Azure SQL. So as you can probably conclude from here, it makes it very difficult to even attempt to log in or create an environment that is supported on Azure by Microsoft Dynamics GP. And more than anything else, this validates what I set out to do for this particular installment and this series overall. So thank you very much, and until next post.